Hey YouTube, I am back with another video. This is in regards to Candice Owens. Now, I knew of Candice Owens. I was never aware of her content, a lot of things that she said, but I came across this video or several videos, yes. So I'll say three videos. One was a hearing that she had in regards to hate crime, and I think that's the video I saw. And from there, when I looked into her, that's when I saw she did an interview with Roseanne Barr and Larry Elder, and I wanted to point those clips out. But before I do that, I wanted to say I understand that she's a conservative. I you know the thing that I believe with Candace Owens is I believe she has blinders on, and she's seeing things from one point of view, and that point of view is the same talking points of white supremacy. It is. So, and this is what I mean by that. I understand that Black people, we have our problems in our community, but Candace, you don't talk to people who do not like Black people, like white people, about our problems. And you seem to get with other Black conservatives that feel the same way. It's almost like, so you say that you are speaking for Black people and you want to see Black people to do better. I agree. And you mentioned that you're not big on this feminist movement. I agree. I'm not either. But if I'm going to talk about people that I want to see do better, I speak to those people. I reach out to those people. You're not helping. So if you want to talk to Johnny about the things he's doing, you don't get with Jack and talk about Johnny, because then Johnny's going to look at it as you're talking about him. And that's what's happening here. You need to use a Black platform to talk about Black people and Black people's problems, because the weird thing about it is I don't see anyone saying, you know what, Muslims have a problem, let's talk about it. White people have a problem, let's talk about it. Native Americans, Indians, Pakistanians, these people have problems, let's talk about it. No, you do not talk about other people's problems with someone that's not within the community. I think that some of the things that Candace is saying is just outright. I'm almost wondering, does she have a brown face, or is it caca from all of the crap from her being up these people's butt? So she goes on to say, she mentions that she was a victim of a hate crime. However, she later says in the interview with Roseanne Barr that the closest thing she has seen to white supremacy is the radical feminist or Me Too movement, is what she was talking about later. I gave you a clip of it, but the radical feminist movement. That's the closest thing she's seen to white supremacy, and Roseanne Barr agreed. I'm confused. You are a white woman that has probably lived through some of the times where white supremacy was heavily existent, and you agree with her. She talks about how there's Black privilege and how if there's reparations, our reparations should be go back to Africa. These are really talking points you would really hear from a nationalist. So, I agree with, Me Too movement is radical. And it could possibly be a witch hunt. I believe that Black people, we can do better, just like I can believe other people can do better. But I just don't think that just because we can do better and just because we're not always the victims in every situation, no. But there are people that are victims, and we need to speak for them, because I may not have issues dealing with racism every day, but lower income people would have it a lot more heavily than me. Have I experienced racism? Quite a bit of times, yes. quite a bit of times. And I'm going to roll these videos and you take a look and you tell me what you think. I am not a leftist. I don't like these terms. People are always going to put labels on someone. I'm not a leftist. I'm not to the right. I am just me, you know? So I wouldn't even consider myself Democrat, Republican or anything. Maybe I'm moderate. I don't know. Because I have views that's kind of split in some ways. But comment, subscribe, hit the like button. I'm going to go ahead and roll these videos. Take a look.
Ranking Member Mr. Collins, thank you for having me here today. I received word on my way in that many of the journalists were confused as to why I was invited, and none of them knew that I myself was the victim of a hate crime when I was in high school. That's something that very few people know about me because the media and the journalists and the left are not interested in telling the truth about me because I don't fit the stereotype of what they like to see in black people. I'm a Democrat. I support the President of the United States, and I advocate for things that are actually affecting the black community. I'm honored to be here today in front of you all because the person sitting behind me is my 75-year-old grandfather. I've always considered myself to be my grandfather's child, and I mean to say that my sense of humor, my passion, and my work ethic all comes from the man that is sitting behind me. My grandfather grew up on a sharecropping farm in the segregated South. He grew up in an America where words like racism and white nationalism held real meaning under the Democrat Party.
Look, I think I could be pro reparations. I think we should allow people the opportunity or the chance to go back to Africa. I would sponsor that like you wouldn't believe.
I don't think you can have a long line.
Right, I don't think we would either. But you know, you hear that all the time in theatrical voices. They took us from the motherland. Do you know what's going on in the motherland today? Have you been to Africa? I've been to Africa. Okay, I'm perfectly content living in America. Most of people don't realize like the opportunities that you have here in America, you'd have never had otherwise. And this was actually one of the first countries that banned the slave trade. Right? I mean, Britain was ahead of us. The UK was ahead of us, but America was just right behind them.
By the way, when you mentioned that the UK was ahead of us, they were. Do you know that the slave owners were compensated? After they lost their quote-unquote property, the government compensated slave owners.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so when people talk about reparations, do they really want to have that conversation? Because, like it or not, slavery was legal. And so their property, their legal property, was taken away from them after the Civil War. So you can make an argument that the people that are owed reparations, and not only just black people, but also the people whose quote property, close quote, was taken away after the end of the Civil War.
So what?
Look at the latitude that this country gives black people. I was watching a commercial yesterday with Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson has a bunch of commercials. So does James Earl Jones. So does Morgan Freeman. All three of them have made vicious comments about white people, vicious comments about Republican Party, vicious comments about the Tea Party. Recently, Sam Jackson went off on a profane rant against Donald Trump, calling him an MFer.
Disgusting.
A bunch of times. Who can do that and still have a Capital One commercial?
Only black people.
Name a conservative commentator who would have gone off on Obama, calling Obama an MFer, and retained any endorsements.
None. Zero. No. We have, there is black privilege in this country, by the way, if anyone wants to talk about it. That's exactly what it is. I just say to myself, I read articles, and what I like to do, my favorite challenge is to replace the word black with white, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, or replace the word white with black. So
I
say,
saw
white
you do that
men.
with Sarah John.
Yeah, right? Like, white men need to just stop what they're saying. Imagine if this article said black men need to just shut up. Heads would roll. People would be fired. But for some reason, they've condoned. And Dr. Thomas Sowell talks a lot about this, where like there's this fallacious concept, like because you've lived through something, you can now do whatever it is you've lived through. Like okay, black people have survived racism in this country, so now we can just go ahead and be the racist. And actually, there is a lot of racism against white people in this country right now. That I see with clear eyes, right? I read articles and I go, how is this allowed? How did this make it to print? It's so obviously racist. Let's be clear, the Asians are doing the best in America right now, and nobody wants to talk about them because they destroy the concept that there's racism, right? They completely destroy it. Japanese Americans, where we had them in internment camps, now they're doing the best in America. How did that happen? Because they work hard, because there's no such thing as Japanese lives matter. That's why. Somebody asked me, it was a Washington Post, they're working on a really big hit piece on me at the moment.
The Washington Post is?
Yeah, they do these profile pieces on me, and like I give these interviews now because I don't care. I'm kind of in like post-journalist world. Like no matter what you say, people know that you lie. And maybe it comes out good, who knows? But she asked me at one point, do you think that white supremacy exists? And I said, the closest thing I've ever seen to it in my life is the radicalized feminist movement.
I can agree.
The closest thing to white supremacy that I've seen in my lifetime has been this radicalized Lena Dunham types going around saying we want this now, whatever we say happens.